To take part in Formula One, you first have to build a car. To have any chance of winning the championship, you will need space-age materials, state-of-the-art technology, and a room full of computers. McLaren has them all.
Everything on the car essentially is automatic. It's what we call fly-by-wire. There's no physical link between the driver and the rear of the car at all.
These are the governing body of motorsport say that you've got to have a car at a minimum weight, 505 kilos. And the penalties are very strict if you're underneath that weight.
This is the steering wheel they use. Basically it's all automatic, but this is how they change gear now, with these little paddles behind the steering wheel.
It's carbon fibre, but it's got a honeycomb infill, and that's built to withstand a fair degree of pressure.
The brakes we use now are carbon fibre. They're carbon fibre pads, carbon fibre discs. It's about $15,000 for one set of brakes as well.
Their engine management system and the electronic brain here controls suspension, throttles, and the gearbox changing.
We now have an active suspension system which keeps the car at the right attitude wherever it is on the circuit.
The System Atlas is our own system, actually designed and manufactured. It stands for Advanced Telemetry Linked Acquisition System.
Yes, what we see here on the screen is a collection of all the data we receive from the car, either by a telemetry link, which means by radio, or when the car comes into the pit. This is actually where the car is at this moment in time. We have displayed the gear selected by the driver or by the gearbox along the racetrack. This type of display allows us to evaluate whether the gears selected are exactly as you need to have optimized lap time. Another important screen throughout the race is that screen on the top, which is a so-called bar graph screen. What you have here is like in a thermometer, different parameters displayed. And if they get critical, then they change the color. Here, as you see in one example, red, where the oil pressure is too low. Or here, blue, where the lap time was too long, and therefore something must have happened to the driver. What we see here is the red line is the engine rev. This light blue one is the speed of the car. The dark blue one is the acceleration to the side inside the car, lateral acceleration as we call it. The green one is the acceleration in direction of the driving. The white one is the position of the butterfly, whether the driver puts down the accelerator or not. And this pink one is the gear selected by the driver or by the gearbox.
To build cars like these requires a combination of research lab and factory. At Woking, McLaren has created both, and they're the envy of Formula One. The test rigs, the electronics, and the high-powered computing would do credit to the aerospace industry. Here they design and build a new car for the start of every season, and then spend the rest of the year working to improve its performance. As each new modification comes off the computer and out of the workshop, it is tried out on the track. McLaren tests a lot. This year alone, their 19-strong test team will spend 78 days evaluating everything from aerodynamic settings to software packages. Today, they're testing a new version of their Ford Cosworth engine.
All right. Can I have a feedback from the engine and gearbox gentleman to see if there is any tweaking and tuning on the engine to do? I wish to have another set of tires.
Rich.
Manager Dave Ryan explains the importance of this test.
We want to win races, we want to win the championship, so it's a pretty good car. The car can be better, and the engine can be better. We've got to try and squeeze every bit out of it we can.
Driving for the test team at Silverstone today are Michael Andretti and test driver Mika Hakkinen. Supervising the work on the new engine in Mika's car is race engineer Giorgio Ascanelli. He knows why he enjoys testing.
More technical involvement, I'd say. Technicalities is more important than than rapidity of operation. I mean, what you do in the race meeting is really looking after the change of the circuit, looking at what the opposition does, but really you are tuning the car to the needs of the moment more than doing some serious technical exercise. Testing is more enjoyable. It's harder work. And it can be pretty frustrating as today, but still I prefer testing.
Yeah, I mean, these two back here don't look like they're working, do they?
No.
Sorry, did you say?
Well, either we've got an irregular spread of mixture, or we're running with 4 cylinders.
The front two are bright red, and the back two are...
Well, it's a different shape, obviously. These ones are always going to glow better than the others, but I think we're missing 4 cylinders.
Testing in Formula One is an exacting business. So many things can affect a car's performance on the track that it's often hard to measure the impact of the modification that's being tested. Wind, weather, or a marginally changed setup to the car can all add seconds to a lap time, or even the performance of the driver. In this test session, a crisis of confidence seems to be affecting Mika Häkkinen.
But complex, you accelerate more and more.
The front washes
Further you
away.
go through the corner, more the rear end goes like this. The more it goes like this, it's finally, it snaps away, like the rear
okay.
tire. Yeah.
So you've got the power understeer, and then in the middle of the understeer, all of a sudden the rear gives up and goes away from you.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
and the car wants to swap ends.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So effectively, as you are scrubbing speed off and the front gets too positive in the entry of packet,
Yeah.
you will have the front rider correcting and coming up a little bit to avoid the rear.
To rear sometimes.
Yeah?
Mm. Yeah. Keep thinking about it.
Okay, stop thinking about it.
Yeah.
Think to drive the car.
Yeah.
Go quicker.
Yeah.
Once we've done that, we do the weight at the end of the day.
Okay.
Yeah? I promise you, swear. 5 laps again, 5 time laps, you'll have the ball.
So far, the new engine doesn't seem to be performing as well as expected. Head of the test team, Pat Fry, thinks he spotted a problem.
Watching the car during the start, the on and off the throttle, the car is jumping. Not much, I mean, 3 mil at the front, 4 or 5 mil at the rear. It's strange. That's what it looked like anyway. I can't think of any strategy.
We shouldn't have any correction at 0 speed.
Okay, yeah.
Unless you've got a pressure problem. Or unless...
Well, you can't have a pressure problem when you're revving your bollocks off it, can you?
Giorgio has to find answers to some difficult questions. What's the reason for the car's lack of performance? Is it the new engine? Or is it, as he increasingly suspects, the inexperience of the driver?
I just wouldn't like to have introduced a variable on the car which may sort of change the kind of judgment which we are giving to this experiment. If you do have a problem, if you think that you're losing time car-wise, you should tell so. The other thing is, Michael has just run at 22.8. I understand this path-through bridge. I'm getting a comparison of the 2 laps.
I mean, the only big thing we've changed since yesterday is the nose assembly, isn't it?
Yep.
Seems to be losing nearly a second through the complex, doesn't he, to Michael?
I know. Are we saying that he's lost interest? Could be, huh?
Lap is same.
Well, looks like you're losing a lot under braking there.
In here,
Yes?
even I'm braking very hard, you can see it. can't brake hard, it doesn't stop.
Okay.
Yeah. The second thing is, when I come to the complex, I lose in the back end very easily. Is it because the brakes, or is it because the wind? I believe the wind is not much different than yesterday.
Wait a second. We'll come back to this.
Okay.
And then you're coming through the straight, and you are exactly the same as yesterday.
Yeah.
So if I have to judge it, we've got a car problem, we haven't got an engine problem here. You say that the circuit is different yesterday from today. This is Michael's time. You are the black, Michael's is the green. Of course, he's pulling less speed because he's got more wing on. Then he's braking a lot later in through Beckett.
He's the black one.
You are the black one.
Yeah, okay. I'm braking later. Yeah?
He is braking later.
Right.
We've got a car problem or a brain failure. So, a problem of driver confidence. He's coming to the garage, he's coming into the track, he's told us that the engine had no power. Fine. Michael wasn't out yet. We had no reason not to believe him because we didn't have any comparison. Nobody else was out in the time. Michael went out with the 22.8, he started looking at the numbers and he's slower in the corners, and then the engine doesn't appear to have a problem. Now he's not gonna drive it. I mean, I bet that if you change the engine, as soon as you give him the excuse, carry on, he's gonna carry on and be quicker again. And the fact that we're running a gurney flap or not is irrelevant.
You can demonstrate that to me, can't you?
Yes, I will.
and then I'm happy.
Right.
It's rare for one test to provide definitive answers. The Formula One car of today is too complex to allow for easy solutions. As far as McLaren's new engine is concerned, Giorgio thinks he knows what is required.
I cannot say that the engine has got more power or less power. I can say that the engine is different. I'm sure of one thing. We haven't worked long enough on it to establish the true limit of this one. I think there is a lot more to do.
Throughout the year, the program of testing goes on. The engine is just part of the package. As crucial to the car's performance are the technical devices McLaren has developed to improve the car's road holding, like the computer-controlled active suspension.
He's now idling at 4,000. I'm not going to send him out. We've had him.
But this season, a threat has hung over the team's use of advanced technology. Motor racing's governing body, FISA, thinks that Formula One has become too predictable. The front of the grid is too often dominated by the same few teams, because only they can afford the latest technology. FISA wants to cut down the cost and complexity of Formula One and make the competition more equal. But still, the announcement from its technical scrutineers in Montreal comes as a shock. At the Canadian Grand Prix, they suddenly decide that active suspension is against the rules. Ron Dennis detects a hidden agenda in the scrutineers' findings.
The governing body has quite clearly positioned itself to impose at every opportunity, every form of pressure to effectively achieve its goal, and that goal is to get Williams and McLaren to accept a banning of the technologies that they've developed and perfected.
FISA's council meets in July to rule on the decision. It's expected to support its scrutineers. But 3 teams have appealed. Operations Director Martin Whitmarsh is off to Paris to represent McLaren.
Obviously, an analogy is halfway through Wimbledon week, suddenly determining that the larger rackets that have been used for several years, have been seen, are well known and well documented, to suddenly decide that they're no longer legal and disqualify all of the participants who are using those larger rackets.
The Place de la Concorde is home to FISA's grand headquarters. Here, the appeals against the scrutineers' findings will be heard. If the council votes as predicted and bans active suspension, the two teams worst affected will be McLaren and Williams. Frank Williams, boss of the Williams team, has most to lose. His cars were specifically designed to use active suspension. They now lead the championship.
I have one also titled just a McLaren submission, which I'd like to show you. And if you're happy with it, we'll make a joint submission otherwise.
So today, the two arch rivals join forces to save the technology they've done so much to develop. After the hearing, FISA President Max Mosley confirms that from the German Grand Prix, active suspension will be banned.
We've probably been a bit slow in catching up on this. I'm ready to admit that, and we're going to change our procedures slightly so we're more up to date with what the teams are doing. But don't forget, the teams never come along and say, we're doing this for this reason. On the contrary, they try their very best to conceal what they're doing from everyone except their own people.
You can't imagine Wimbledon changing the rules halfway through the tournament. And what's your answer to that?
Well, it's very simple. You see, Wimbledon, you've got two bats and a ball and a net, and it really isn't that difficult. With us, the ball is something of enormous technical complexity. Just to describe the ball, it's a Formula One car, you've got a thick book full of regulations, which even the teams don't always fully understand. It's a very, very difficult sport from that point of view. We do our best, and most of the problems disappear by mutual agreement, but they arise all the time, as you would expect in something so complicated.
Obviously, we weren't surprised. It was the outcome that we had expected. However, when you're confronted with the situation, you know the facts, you've given what you believe to be compelling evidence to support your case, then it's obviously very unsatisfying.
The judgment of Paris comes as unwelcome news to the designers and engineers in Woking.
And it's not as if these cars have only appeared this year. I was involved with the Lotus in 82 and 83. We raced an active car in 83 in 2 races. I was involved with the Lotus in 1987, where we raced it all year. And we raced against Williams then, who had a similar car. And then here, over the last couple of years, I think it's very sad.
It's a shame that, you're throwing away 20, 30 years developing and making the Formula One. Maybe we have to change the name. Maybe it shouldn't be Formula One anymore. I think Formula One should be the pinnacle of the sport, and therefore all of this new technology should be found in the Formula One rather than in the road car.
I think active suspension is something that is technically very interesting, and I think it's a shame that we can't use it anymore. The majority of the teams have access to some system, and I don't think it's really excessively expensive compared to what the drivers are paid, for instance. So I think I can't really see on what grounds people are objecting to it so much.
Clutch move, because the clutch move comes from there. So if we remove those two, fit the flushing blocks, those we leave on.
Put the lift valve on there.
Yeah, the lift valve.
In Formula One, though, there's little time for sentiment. Now the immediate task is to work out what needs to be done to the cars, and then find out if they're still competitive without their active suspension.
Clutch valve you can leave on there because it takes its supply from there.
We have to take it off to get at them anyway, basically.
There's not a lot of time left. The FISA decision has come through just a week before the start of the German Grand Prix. There are just 4 days before the transporters have to leave for Hockenheim. 4 days to overcome this latest and unexpected technical problem.
The only purpose of the meeting was to make sure, it's for my benefit more than your benefit, to make sure we're all on the same wavelength. I feel that it would be worthwhile trying to run on Monday at Silverstone in a passive configuration to try and quantify what would really happen in the event that we wanted to run as an option passive in Hockenheim. If, for example, we're 5 seconds a lap slower in Silverstone, then it's going to be a completely different strategy to what we may consider to do in Hockenheim if it's 3/10.
Watch this space, like they said, so, yeah. All right, talk to you next week. Thank you. Bye.
Joe Ramirez moves into action to sort out the logistics of this emergency test program. This includes tracking down Ayrton Senna.
Have to find somewhere where we can test very quick.
and evaluate the car in, I guess, both passive and active suspension. Silverstone, which it wasn't available, we managed to convince them to have a day for us, and now they have made available the Monday. So we're going to test it on the Monday with one of the race cars that we have here to see what we find. So we have to find out organized tires and fuel, etc., and a driver and so on. Good afternoon. Can I have a racing division, please? Thank you. Did you close that? Yes, it's. I left a message in Portugal. It's left Monaco. There's no answer. I called Portugal and left a message to call you or me as soon as he gets in. Yeah.
So Kosovo is under control, the fuel is under control, the tires are under control as well.
Yeah.
Whole set of tires.
Yeah, they'll be mounted tomorrow.
Okay.
Fuel, I don't know what Joe's finally come up
Yes, we've got 33.
Bennett's going to be there in the morning.
Running passive as well.
With Cortovs. David Cortov. Okay. I don't know what that is, but they've got to carry out Rickard, don't forget.
Okay, no problem.
Giorgio will be in charge of the test.
Anything else?
I don't know, by the way. Oh, your gear, your clothing.
Oh, well done.
Stuart. Yeah, if you see Stuart.
The people who have never been able to perfect active ride are smiling at the moment, but because they think they've made life easier for themselves. But those are the people who couldn't win if you gave them an army of technicians and many more millions of dollars than we have available. And these circumstances aren't going to change anything. You know, the people that are the best to still win.
2 days later. It's testing time for the old suspension. For the moment, the new technology is sidelined. Springs are here again. And so is Ayrton Senna, who's flown in this morning from Lisbon.
Got nice and early this morning?
I was very, very early this morning. Very, because I was in Portugal. So. 30 degrees.
Yeah. Thanks a lot.
So, to get me over here on a Monday, that early in the morning.
Giorgio is relaxed about the loss of his computer-controlled suspension.
Oh, I'm back in my natural habitat. After 10 years of doing the job without computers, I had a break of 8 months and then I'm back without computers. It's okay. About as quick as this car has ever been in passive trip.
Ayrton Senna is also taking the possible end of active suspension in his stride.
It's just different. You have to get your mind back together again to work in the old way. It takes some time, takes patience. It's like you're working with a new car again, and you need time to get on with it and learn about its characteristics and how to attack it to make it better in different ways. You know, in the low speed here, at the complex, you have a lot more rear end in the car. And front end, I have much more grip, even if it's the 7. Few, good grip. As I position the car into the apex, then I'm no longer going like this or like that. I have a car is straight, I can go full throttle, lift and go the next one. It doesn't push so much in the front as usually it did. It is not too bad.
Well, it's early days yet, but so far it's not been as bad as I thought, and reasonably encouraged, I guess.
So once again, testing has uncovered some surprising results.
is about that. It's between 1 second and 2 seconds slower, which is not a great deal, I think. The other thing is, in actual fact, I think that we discovered something which was implied in, which we wouldn't have seen and found if we were following our normal route, which is interesting, I'd say.
In the event, active suspension has a last-minute reprieve, and its use is allowed until the end of the season. And so, come rain or shine, the testing program plays a vital part in McLaren's Formula One challenge. This year, the test team gets used to the roar of the new 12-cylinder engine from Lamborghini, as they put it through its paces in a specially built, unliveried car. They find an extra half-second a lap with new power brakes. And by the season's end, they've tried out nearly 100 different versions of the car's computer software. It pays off. Ayrton Senna ends the season by winning the Grand Prix in Japan and Australia, bringing McLaren a total of 5 victories and a world record 104 wins. For the team, this commitment to technical development is the name of the Formula One game. They can take a ban or two in their stride. But they'd be happier if people didn't keep changing the rules.
The competition in Formula One is not just the drivers. It's about a team against another team. The driver is the leading edge of that team. And behind him, you know, here we've got 300 people working to give that driver the best that we can do. And therefore, we as individuals compete against our respective individuals in other teams. So it's I'm competing and Giorgio is competing against equal engineers in Williams or at Ferrari or Benetton. And that aspect for us is important.
Yeah? Okay, pressure on.
By our efforts, if you like, and by the efforts of our counterparts in other teams, we have raised the technology level, the game, and aspects of the competition to where we are today, which has now been wiped out. The reality of the situation is we will not weep for too long. In other words, come tomorrow we'll be, or come the end of the day, we'll be competing again against the same guys to do a better job at whatever the rules will allow us to do.
Aiming to be the most successful in Formula One history, the team returns next Friday at the earlier time of 8 o'clock.